Okay, welcome back to Behind the Frame, the film review section of Echo Culture. Today, we are diving deep into what's going on in the superhero world because something is definitely shifting. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited to speak to you guys because today we're going to be exploring James Gunn's Superman. It has been described as, funny, soulful, and deeply human. And oddly enough, it feels more like a Marvel Phase 1 movie than a typical DC film. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Marvel's upcoming Fantastic Four reboots feels sort of safe and predictable in a way, hyped but hollow. And today we are pulling back the curtain, taking and talking creative vision, the power of tone, and what happens when you actually let the artist cook. So, are you excited?
I'm very excited for this episode, honestly speaking. Like, finding out James Gunn was the one that directed Superman was very interesting because I never saw the trailer. I never saw anything like related to Superman. I just knew there was a new movie out. Mm-hmm. So then when I watched it, like, I started seeing the different styles and I was like, something is fishy here. But don't worry, we'll get to that.
Very soon, right? All right, so starting off our first segment, which is the Storyteller versus the Showroom. Gunn Superman versus Marvel's F4. We're not really trying to look at the comparison too deeply here, but we're trying to, talk about the details, the narrative, right? The theme of, creative vision versus corporate strategy. So let's start where the vibe is really shifted. Superman versus Fantastic Four. Why does one feel like a breath of fresh air and the other feel like a recycled Instagram ad for nostalgia? So let's start with our first clip, Superman's introduction.
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire for what some might. It's a lot. Today, the Secretary of Defense said he was going to look into your actions. That's funny.
It's good.
My actions.
Okay, so I think watching Superman, right? It was just a very very different experience. I think I came in expecting that regular DC dark energy. I think the last DC movie I had watched before now was most likely Aquaman, I believe. So I know it wasn't Aquaman. I think it was Batman, right? Was it Batman? It was an old movie. What was the last DC movie?
Last one I remember is Aquaman. Though. Flash was the last one I remember.
Yeah, actually, Flash. Yes, Flash was the last one for me. Yes. Yes. And how did you feel like going off watching Flash and then into this movie?
I just knew it didn't look like DC. Mm-hmm. Definitely didn't look like DC. That's just all I'll say. Because honestly speaking, everyone, I didn't have any expectations for this movie. I was already telling him when we're about to watch, I was like, this movie's going to be bad. I already know. Because my experience with DC, the only one I really enjoyed thoroughly was Wonder Woman. When it comes to making movies, I feel like they're way better at making series from what I've seen. So I wasn't expecting anything. And then going on and every scene was good. I don't even know how to explain. It's as if if they could create a Marvel movie, it genuinely would be like that. What we'd expect from Stan Lee and all these other guys. That's just the vibe I got from.
I think the interesting experience was watching two of them side by side and thinking because we're very big Marvel fans. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We've watched all the Phase 1, all the old movies and everything, right? So watching F4. I think it was very different. It felt so orchestrated. It felt sort of and don't get me wrong, it was still a good movie. It was still sort of put together very well. But watching that and then afterwards watching Superman, it felt it felt you could easily feel that swap. You could easily feel things had changed. And I think just touching on James Gunn's Superman, it just felt like a breath of fresh air. It just felt so good. It felt very very a completely different take. And I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, but honestly speaking, I feel like for Fantastic Four, I did feel that energy of sort of Marvel being repetitive in a way, and also I came in with that assumption as well because I've seen other Marvel movies as well, and I could tell there was kind of a decline in some of their movies, but I still have hope for Marvel. I really do have hope. So watching all the other movies, it just felt as though they have something they are cooking up is what I would say, because I feel transitioning from that generation of Captain America, Iron Man, all those people, and then having them die and having to bring in this new generation, it's really hard to sort of place good actors, good directors, even the story plus the writing, everything will change. So it's a very difficult process. So I actually really understand why all of this is happening and everything.
No, I definitely agree.
Even with Fantastic Four, I can see that glim, that spark that you just see, just that small spark that gets coming back.
It's more laying pipe.
Exactly. It's building up, but they're still but I can feel like the energy of
You know,
something
I
coming.
definitely agree with you on that. I think considering like just like what they're working with, I think there's a lot of factors that come to play. Like that generational shift. Like there's a lot of things that we can speak to understand really what's causing all these changes, what's causing like all this the difference in how the shows are running. Is it focused more on the demographic? Is it focused more on the story? Is it focused more on the material? We can keep asking ourselves these questions, but really, at the end of the day, it's up to the creators, right? It's up to the directors. It's up to how they choose to go about it. Yes, we may not all be happy with how they go or the direction they choose to take, but we are not in the room. So at the end of the day, yes, we can still play our parts and like still try and choose and pick. But I think at the end of the day, like you said, you can't really say it's due to anything, but it's just that there is a change and there is a shift.
Yeah, there really
and it's
is
just
a
about
shift.
following that shift and like
Exactly.
understanding and breaking it down. And I think that is what's part of the things that we're here to do with you today.
Another thing is that we're actually even getting older if you think about
Yep.
it as well. Like they're targeting more of the younger generation because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be here when we're gone. So and they're the ones that are going to keep making them money at the end of the day. So
And I think one clear thing, right, is like, what do you think happens when a film is made by someone who truly understands the character, understands the feeling, understands that soulful, like feeling of a hero, or the feeling behind a team coming together? What do you think, happens when that difference is there?
when the difference is clear, I think you can see it from just how detailed everything would be. Like you would see like the different elements of the like film coming together, like the characters, the way the fight scenes, like everything is orchestrated properly because there's an intention behind it, because the person knows the characters, they know what they've already seen the vision. So bringing it to life really is like where I would even say there would be more of a challenge compared to even like having the idea already in your mind. But then even bringing it to life as well, like when you have that intention, when you genuinely enjoy the creative process, it will be very seamless, even though there's stress, but it will still like, your vision will definitely be projected.
And I definitely agree with you, because like when the person like and that this is one of the reasons why I am all about knowing directors, knowing actors, knowing writers, and understanding their styles, and like continuously trying to pick and like choose and trying to understand what speaks to you, what connects with you, and then going out to continue to watch those movies. I'm all for following those directors. I don't want to list or be too particularly picky, because I know that this list can change for any given person, but it's all about like understanding who these people that produce, that direct, that write, that create those core things or those kind of core movies that you feel connected to, and continuously following them. And I think that question of if it's more about the creator or more about the material, I think it really is a mix of both, and it's really really situational. But I think at the end of the day, you can't tell me that like the creator will always have sort of like this framework, sort of like this DNA that I think should be relevant and should be evident in his work, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And then from what you just said now, honestly speaking, like I feel even with James Gunn, like I kind of notice how he uses like different like tones and colors as well in the film and everything. So like asking you, like, what do you think? Like, what would you say? Like, how would you identify like your directors? Like, what elements do you see that makes you know that okay, yeah, this is this director that did this film?
I think it's different for like different directors and writers. But I think for me, I look at like that multi-layered storytelling. I look at like the level of the Easter eggs, how the creator is telling you stories from different materials and different sort of like concepts in the movies. Like the background, the character stories, the systems that are being explored. I look at like how they're exploring those systems. I look at how like they're using those systems to replicate things that are actually going on in real life, emotions, core narratives that a lot of people are not really talking about, how they are like easily bring that into the movies, to spotlight it and to show us that like we are all human, we are all having these experiences regardless of the cultures or regardless of the countries or regardless of where we are. Like there's certain core emotions or core experiences that we as human can relate and feel to. I think when I see some of those elements portrayed in very creative and very intuitive and immersive ways, I think that is how I pick and choose certain directors and writers to follow. What about you?
That's true. I think how I notice a director is just like I feel the the tone of the film. Like I noticed some people tend to use like darker tones. Do you get what I mean? So what I noticed is like I feel James Gunn tends to use like a lot of bright colors in a way. Like he makes, because even Superman's suit seemed brighter. Like the red was brighter, the blue was brighter. The scene, like it gives you this feeling of, I don't know how to explain it, but you feel happy watching it. It's like this, it feels like a when you watch it, like this is my comfort movie. That's how I felt about Guardians of the Galaxy, honestly speaking. Like the different colors, the quality, like even the way the characters are dressed, all these things, like it just makes you just identify easily. And then even in Superman as well, like once that I can't remember his name exactly. I haven't watched the movie too many times, honestly, to remember the characters. But when they got into a ship, the ship was very orangey and white, and the way the positioning was, I was like,
coloring was like
that was when I suspected that Marvel has something to do with this movie, because everything was, it wasn't even giving like they copied Marvel. I just knew that it was more of a collaborative thing. I really didn't see it as something like, oh, like why are they doing that? Nah, I was just like, yo, like there's definitely an influence here from, you know, MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So
let's take a look at Superman. Actually, let's go into our next clip, which is Superman fighting. Let's look at that color. You know.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Your choices, your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
See, we've not even talked about the cast, like so you know, I think it's very refreshing. Okay, no, sorry, this gets me hyped up. It's Nicholas Hoult. So I'm about to talk about Nicholas Hoult here. So like I need to change my tone. So like it's very refreshing when you see a good like a good movie, and then when you see a totally different like cast, like it's something not what you would expect. It's not like the average or this A-list actors or these people that like are just put in there for more marketing or more visibility. Like I always do not like it when like visibility is sort of like the main priority sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, marketing, all of that is still nice. We still need that visibility for, you know, for returns, you know, as a business, as an entrepreneur, as a filmmaker, as like someone that loves like, you know, creating. I know how like this still plays a part. But when you look at the cast that's fresh but still does the job, it is just beautiful. Yep. Nicholas Hoult, don't get me wrong, I've always followed Nicholas Hoult. He has always been on my mind, from Mad Max to like Nicholas is one of my like favorite like he had always been this actor that I'd been admiring, and seeing him play Lex, taking it from people like Jesse Eisenberg. Don't get me wrong, I love Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg is another terrific person that I think played Lex well as well. But like Nicholas Hoult brought that energy, and I think he mashed Superman. Like he I think he really contributed to what the movie is. What do you think?
Yeah, remember when he was in office and he was so passionately like this kind I remember that scene was actually insane.
Like, A4, B2, B1, B3.
1A! 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 1A!
It's like you could tell that, like, and I think one of the things I've always loved about like, you know, the antagonist Lex's character is like how passionate and like how much like he sort of like he did that, like how like the idea on like the very nature of Superman, right? I think that's what makes Lex's character very original, right? So, you know, like how much he despised what Superman stood for.
When they mention Galileo or Einstein or one of these other twits in the same breath as me, I feel a tide of vomit burn the back of my throat. But at least Galileo did something. He wasn't some dopey Venusian catapulted onto this planet just to have the world fawn over him, because his strength illuminates how weak we all really are.
And I think he could really like sort of like tell a lot of that through his like how Nicholas Hoult played Lex.
Yeah, and you can tell most of those villains that they have in these movies, like they just have them like they're not like causing like extreme trouble, like Thanos, like all do like Doctor Doom, all these people. Like,
it's all about laying
like,
pipe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about laying pipe. It's all about laying pipe, but in such an intricate way.
Exactly.
So I think just bringing it back to the conversation now, like, what do you think? Like, can we feel? Do you think we can feel when a movie is built for hype versus when a movie is built for legacy?
Definitely. Like, I feel like maybe from the way they promote it, you can already tell if it's built for hype. And then, like you mentioned, you mentioned before how people would like pick certain actors that they would use for movies because they know it will appeal to the audience. This is what's going to draw people in. So let me make the main character be somebody that's very, very popular. And I can't even lie, they can't fool me with that. Because, I was honestly expecting Henry Cavill to come back.
Nah, that's
I don't know why.
long,
honestly speaking,
long time ago.
Exactly, that was a long time. But I enjoyed his Henry Cavill Superman.
Yep, Man of
honestly.
Steel was still beautiful.
But I haven't seen this actor before, so like that was really even what drew me back. So that's how I knew that they're very intentional with this, because it's like, okay, nobody really knows. I mean, people know him, but I personally don't know who he is. So it's like, okay, we are going to use this character, and then if you see the poster and you see the person, your immediate instinct is like, oh, I don't know this person, so I'm not going to watch it. So when you watch it now, it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
it's
for
actually
real.
like a good movie, like, do
For
you know what I
real,
mean?
yeah,
That
yeah,
twist
yeah.
and everything. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to legacy and hype, like you can kind of see from even like how they how will I explain it? How they structure their creative process, how they release their movies. Like, do their movies like flow into each other, or they just dropping like quick movies and everything? Do you get what I mean?
Very true.
So you can tell from there, I guess, it's just how intentional they are. Like, with putting out their movies and the flow of the movies. Like, our characters like mashing up into each other. Are you seeing? Do you know what I mean?
And
But
do you think Marvel has sort of like lost the balance it once had with Phase 1? Like, or is it too busy trying to replicate moments instead of making them? What do you think?
I feel like Marvel is like really just, I feel like they are still on that legacy track, if you really, really think about it. Because like now, I mentioned that whole thing in the beginning about like the different generations and like how they're taking one now and they're trying to replicate it.
Zoom
with
is
the new
coming
one.
now.
Exactly. They're not coming up with like new characters and like, oh, we have to scrap everything because everybody says it's bad. No, they're still like they're still on track. I honestly feel like they're still on track. But to say like the movies they've dropped so far, like, I wouldn't say that, but they are still on track. That's just what I'll say. And even DC as well. I feel DC has their own legacy as well too. They're kind of messy with how they intertwine their movies in a way. I'm not the biggest, like, I haven't watched a lot of DC movies. I'm not too familiar with their characters, but I have seen a couple of them. So
Okay.
But yeah, I just feel like even with, you know how in the scene in Superman as well, how they had like the Green Lanterns like fighting while him and that girl were like in the home. Exactly. Like you see how they like sort of brought the Green Lantern character. James Gunn just like, he helped them with that. I feel like he helped them sort of organize it very well in Superman.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do you think? Because like from what I've seen, right, Marvel is known for sort of like a bit limiting, like, you know, like directors and writers in certain ways. So what do you think happened when, like, you know, full creative control is given? You know, apparently like Gunn was given full narrative
Control.
narrative control. You know, he had the full reins in his
told
hand.
him, this is Superman. Do your thing. Cool, please.
So what do you think happens when, you know, when that full creative control is given?
I think it can bring out the best of any like creative endeavor it is you're going in, because I mean, obviously if that person as well is able to be in communication with everyone else on the team and everyone is on the same page, there's that like harmony in their creative community when they're in their rooms, like in the when they're in the drawing board, like trying to figure out like what to do, how to put these things together. I feel I lost my track. I lost my thought process there.
It's fine. I think so. Don't worry. After the break, we'll explore what happens when a storyteller's vision spans multiple universes and how James Gunn captured his voice across both Marvel and DC.
Welcome back to the Echo Culture Talk Show. So on this segment, we're going to be talking about from Guardians to Godhood. So we're going to be talking about James Gunn's signature voice across the universes. So Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't just a franchise, it was a feeling. And that feeling followed James Gunn all the way to the DC universe. So what do you think?
I mean, like, you could tell, like, the character, when you, like, you know, the character playthrough scenes, like the, you know, I think, like, you know, if you watch the Guardians of the Galaxy sequel, I mean, like, it was just beautiful. Like, you know, he really, like, I think, like, you know, first of all, how he even brought the Guardians together, like, the journey, the characters, the collector, like, like, it was such a unique, I think, take.
Yeah, it was.
And it was just very interesting to watch. Oh, yeah, I know it's one of your favorite movies ever.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
So please tell me.
Oh my gosh, the soundtrack is just even where I'll start from. Like, I absolutely, like, when I watched Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time, because it was my brother that actually introduced it to me. Like, I would watch Marvel movies and everything, like, when I was younger with them, but I never really understood the plot. So from watching Guardians of the Galaxy and then, like, seeing Infinity War later on, I was like, yeah, I have to do my deep dive all the way from Iron Man, the first Iron Man. I watched everything from the beginning down to Infinity War. Guardians of the Galaxy was one I would always rewatch. Like I absolutely love the film. I love the comedy in it. The comedic timing. That's one thing with James Gunn. Like his comedic timing is perfect.
Yeah, it's
it
natural.
Doesn't feel cringe.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? It doesn't feel cringe. It doesn't feel forced. Like it's so naturally. Like it's just amazing. And even the way he introduces characters, like so dramatically. Like imagine someone like
he gives
Drax.
each character like their time to shine. Like it's from, do you see the
Exactly.
parts where Taskmaster was like, you know, that part where he was dancing, like he was using his ball and he protected Louis with like the shield, and then like everyone is just like, it's just this dance scene, like almost like
when they were inside, that whole scene felt so Guardians of the Galaxy coded. I can't even lie, because the way they were in and like the way even like the movements, like when they fight, like the camera angles, the way the camera like follow, like everything is just, you can tell. That's another thing with his style as well.
Yep,
I feel
like that team of like ragtag families, you know, that the humor that cuts with pain, you know, and the beauty in brokenness, you know, like to be honest, right, tying it to the Guardians of the Galaxy and even Suicide Squad, like you can sort of see like that DNA.
As well.
Yes, it
No
did.
wonder.
And like and you could see like how he followed, like how his DNA is relevant in some of in all these films, and it's really amazing to watch. And let's go beyond that, right? I mean, we talk about music, games, and film here, so tying it even to the Guardians of the Galaxy game, right? You played it, like, you know, this even carries like his stylistic, like the stylistic legacy, you know, in writing and in tone. Like even though he didn't direct it, and the game is just like, when you play the game, you get what I mean. Like it's very immersive. It's very, each character like feels like they are based on the actual hero, and it's just a nice playthrough, right? It's like you're following Star-Lord in the ship. The details, the graphics, that I can't even lie. Like it's such a good game.
Yeah, because playing it from the beginning, like I saw some videos online of what it kind of looked like, just a few like pictures and videos, nothing too serious, and I was like, I kind of already kind of had an idea that okay, this might be a good game, but I wasn't too sure. So then opening the game, like I love how interactive it was. Like first thing, you wake up with him when he was still a child. You wake up in his room, and then you can go around and see like the posters in his room, because like he was big on like a lot of like movies, music, like Will himself.
Yep.
Like he was big on all these things. So you see all the posters in his room, be able to, and the more you go into levels, because it's kind of like a backstory, and then they take you to the future, or the present rather, of him being in the ship with Gamora, Drax, Rocket, Groot, everybody. But then the story also brings you back. Oh, Groot! No.
That's fine.
I am Groot.
That's fine.
The story also brings you back as well. So you kind of like, you know, you're immersed in it as well. You're not just playing a video game. You're following his story as much as you're playing like the video game as well. So also
so.
Mix 2.
Yes,
Volume
sir.
2. Yes, sir. Volume 2 was actually insane as well. I really love Volume 2 too. Groot, please hold your disc.
I think like, and can you say that a game like Guardians of the Galaxy can carry the same emotional weight of a film? What do you think that says, like in terms of like storytelling with new media? Like, because you like for playing the game, even like as someone that doesn't really play games as much, or like do you feel like the game could carry that emotional weight or carry that narrative that like films usually carry?
It definitely can. I feel like 100%, like you're literally in control. So it's like you're watching a film that you can't control.
Right.
Do you get what I mean?
Right.
So like everything does ties in together nicely.
And
then even the music element, there's a part in their ship where they actually have a radio, and you can change the radio station, and they have different songs as well. So you see how all these things like come together creatively. Like when it comes to gaming, music, and film, like if you're playing a game, you can tell there's obviously a storyline. There's going to be a plot. There's always a plot. Even if the game is mid, there's always a plot. Even if you snake ladder, the plot is that he has to eat all the balls. Like, you get
Yeah.
So it's actually very like interesting, like when you observe all these things and you see how like naturally like all these things just like tying together to create like anything literally. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, like when we talk about the emotional storytelling from Guardians of the Galaxy, both the game, you know, the narrative pacing, the character moments, you know, the music selection, like you said, you know, you sort of like see how like when you allow a creator like, you know, really like be himself and really like bring these things to life, like it's the longevity of the project like really goes beyond you. It goes beyond what you envision. It goes beyond what you can fathom, like, because like, you know, when you really create some of these things, you don't even understand how like it might lay some foundation or lay some building blocks for some other projects, some other beautiful creative works. So I think allowing that creative vision without too much control is really, really critical.
And I absolutely love the fact that they use James Gunn, honestly speaking. Like I feel like it shows that like sort of connection between Marvel and DC, or something is like cooking, something is coming, like, oh, you guys watch out. Like we honestly could just be speculating, honestly speaking, because all of this is just our theories and what we've like assumed from what we've watched. But then it seems like it seems real. It seems like something that may come up or may happen, or something that we hope to actually happen, because it would be amazing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you can clearly see in his patterns are like, picking, like, making sure that the characters are very human and very soulful.
Yeah,
I think that's something that he made, like, he went, like, it's very clear, like, true Guardians of the Galaxy, true Suicide Squad, and true Superman.
Yeah.
Like, letting in that, like, most often our superheroes are like are more human than we think. Are not this so this crazy person that is unique or special. Yes, they have these abilities. Yes, they they have this desire to protect and this all these special things. But at the end of the day, they are like most of them just have like this very core humanness in them. I think that's what made the movie beautiful. Like Superman showing you that like there's so many controversies. There's many things that you can think about and like consider. But at the end of it, the reason why you have to trust and you have to believe and you see peace and you see that like that's a symbol of justice is because of that feeling and that understanding that like at the end of the day, most of these heroes and villains are still human at the core of their narratives.
Yeah. Exactly, like the whole thing is literally shot on planet Earth, and even if there are aliens that come into Earth, they have to adapt and adjust to how humans are. So naturally, you can't miss out that element. Like it has to be there, and even just having the idea is not even good enough alone. Like, are you able to execute it well? Because you remember that scene where I feel like the most human scene, honestly, was where. When he was talking to his girlfriend and then she was interviewing him as Superman and she was a journalist. That scene was insane. Like I really loved the dialogue.
That was really good,
It was so good because like you can have that idea, yes, but like how are you going to execute the conversation properly so it doesn't seem? Do you get what I mean? But the idea itself was insane. Like it was a really good scene. Yep,
and another scene I think I really loved was when he was fighting Lex and Lex was telling him about how he's so different and how Lex was trying so hard to prove that he's different. But how like when he finally like had the whole thing and then he met Lois in the room and then he went to go and see his parents and then they reminded him what really mattered. And I think it was just very like very core. Like even when he went to the fortress and he saw like they had damaged everything and Crypto the dog, what he did, oh my days.
Crypto.
Like after he saw what is Crypto, I don't know what you're telling me. Like I'm going John Wick and I'm going
like,
to go Lex. I don't know, like forget the hero, forget I don't kill humans. Like you
dog,
came to my house.
My super dog.
You see how you left Crypto. Oh my days.
That's not possible. It's not
you understand?
happening.
If it was me, I'm sorry, I don't have
the power, everything will come out.
I don't have that
Are you
patience.
kidding me? Why are you talking about Crypto? That guy that saved him when he was like on the ground and then he shot him right in front of him.
And he still kept his humanity through all of that. Like, come on, like no, it was
he's
so
like
beautiful.
a DC Captain America.
Yes, and I think it was just really like it was just such a good movie that I recommend people to check out.
Yeah.
All right. So we've seen that like Gunn's world building is all about hearts, all about it's not just hype, it's all about making it recognizable, the real human experience, the player choice, family, real stakes. So later on coming up we zoom out not just to studios and universes but to us, the people watching. What do today's superhero films say about what we really want from stories from now on? Okay, welcome back to Behind the Frame. Okay, so I think spectacle fatigue is real, and I think it is our hunger for meaning in a way. But how do we move forward? Is James Gunn's Superman, the future, or just a lucky exception? I think that's sort of like what this segment is going to be all about. It's going to be, sort of like a cultural reset in tights. It's going to be, redefining superheroes for a post-cinematic universe world. Like, do we believe that, superheroes need a more soulful take, need a more human take? Do we believe that we need to prioritize more soulful storytelling as opposed to, spectacle, demographics, visibility, pushing movies that sort of like follow trends and sort of like just appease a certain trend or demographic very deeply. So what do you think? Like, what do you think going off of like James Gunn Superman and just going off of like, how he used music, how he like brought his style and like that soulful energy to the DC universe? What do you think about it?
I think it was a good decision. I think it was a good choice. I feel like DC needed that shift in a way. I think they needed that difference in like how they usually tell their stories and sort of, because I feel one issue they really had was their comedic timing. Because I'm remembering like watching Flash as well. I feel like the comedy in it was very cringe, honestly speaking. Like, I didn't enjoy it.
She didn't even try and like
I didn't enjoy it at all. It just wasn't like the flow wasn't nice. It wasn't. It felt forced. But him coming with like sort of like seeing like he's like as if he like like studied and researched like with DC their movies, how they've been. Like he definitely did his researches, did his homework, everything, and then he saw that and he's like, okay, let me see what it is I can actually fix to make this better without it not feeling still like a DC character, without losing that element of Superman. Do you get what I mean? I still felt like I was watching a Superman movie, but it was really good. That was just it. Do you get what I mean?
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. And then another thing I want to bring up about his like soulful like sort of energy or that human aspect that he brings into these characters is, you know, that scene where him and, I think I mentioned it earlier, when him and the reporter were talking, or they were having like an emotional moment together.
Yeah,
Green
yeah,
Lanterns
yeah.
were fighting at the back, and the fireworks, like the colors and everything from the destruction was so beautiful. It was a perfect scene for them.
There's
And
always
there was
something happening in the background, and like that is like he's always using a different forefront to tell a story still.
Exactly. And then going off from that scene, like when they were fighting and everything behind them, and the scene was amazing. There's also something similar as well in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, where Quill was trying to get Gamora to listen to Food Around and Fell in Love, and then he gave her like, his earphones, and you could see like the galaxy, like the frame behind him. I feel like those frames are sort of like even similar, honestly speaking. Like he has really good camera angles. Like the shots are always amazing. Like the edits, everything is 10 out of 10.
I agree. So what would you say? Do you think that audiences are tired of the superhero genre, and how do you think it can be saved?
I don't think audiences are tired of the superhero genre. I feel like people want more of that superhero-ness. People like the action. People enjoy it. But I feel people may get tired of sort of like I feel like focusing too much on the human aspect of things can kind of stray away from the main action, like the main like seriousness that really brought people in the first place. Like, oh, this is actually really why I enjoy this. Do you get what I mean? But that doesn't mean to take out the human aspect. It just means like going with this same flow. It wouldn't, I don't say it's sustainable. I feel like there definitely has to be like a difference. Like there will be changes coming up that would lean like towards this sort of same style, but the plot is still different. Like it's not the same. Like I don't know if you get what I mean, but like there's just going to be that difference. I feel like even if they shuffle characters or have like two directors maybe like work on like another movie again, so they can combine like those different styles. So it's not just like it's not the same in a way, if you get what I mean.
No, I think I definitely do, because like looking at it from that perspective, right? I think it's all about how do we make that middle, like basically hit that middle spot.
Yeah,
I think that is why like that's sweet
consistently.
spots, right? Yeah, and I think that's why James Gunn's take is really interesting, because I think part of like the thing that goes with hitting that sweet spot is that creative control, is understanding, is that vision, is like really allowing or trying to see how we can allow certain stories really blossom by giving the right people to make them. So I feel like sometimes we equate popularity to relevance, in the sense of we see this actor, we see this creator that has become very popular, and then we have this automatic assumption that they would be able to do any and every project, or they should be in a project just from the essence of the value they bring from their extra visibility, or the value they bring from their popularity. And I think that's a concept that we need to be very, very careful with, because that allows us to change the criteria. And I think that is what influences certain takes on movies, because that just changes things. That just changes how the decision or how the criteria should be in the first place. What do you think?
I think that's true as well, honestly speaking. I feel like I just honestly can't wait to like see like where all of these like leads towards the ending. Like how like the next movie like DC will release, like what's it actually going to be like? Is it going to be like sort of that same combination they did with Marvel? Are they going to take it over back again from James Gunn themselves and like, okay, let's see what we can do? I don't know if it's going to be that, or you never know. I mean, that's the fun of all these things. You have an idea, but you never actually know.
And I think what's beautiful about it is that like this universe is still so fresh for the taking. Like
it really is so
like
fresh.
It's still so fresh. Like I mean, don't get me wrong, like some staple movies are already still out, but like just having this potential or the possibility of different takes, of a different perspective, or a whole like connected level of connectedness that's similar to what we've seen in the earlier phases of Marvel. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, and I kind of like how DC never actually stopped, because like how like you would see what people would say and all these things, and then you reconsider and be like, oh, like should we stop like creating new characters? Like should we stop this? Because if they stopped creating like the same like different movies of the same characters, like Marvel won't have been able to come in like this if you really think about it. Like if they hadn't started that trend of like constantly like rebranding or making new characters, making new movies with different characters, like this space actually wouldn't have opened up. So most likely wouldn't have gotten this movie. So I like how regardless they just kept on going. They're like, you know what, fine, let's still drop, like, okay, Batman is versatile. He's not only related to Ben Affleck. There can be other Batmans as well. There can be other. Did I say Spider-Man or Batman?
I said Batman.
Okay,
yeah. No, but I definitely think, and I think I'm in preparation of all this amazingness. I think I'm looking forward to going to go and watch the old ones. You know, the Dark Knight Rises, Christian Bale's Batman, like those old OG, you know, DC movies that we know like didn't still miss. So just to go and like refresh your mind and get ready for like this possible beautiful next phase. Yeah. So going back to that soulful feeling, you know, right? You know, I know you made a very good point on like, you know, being careful on like what parts you're bringing to the table to ensure that like, you know, we are still giving people what they want. You know, that action, that other world feeling of, you know, exactly. So, you know, talking about like, you know, I think, how do you see this happening? Not even just from the perspective of like global television, but even because one thing I see a trend of happening now is like how, you know, movies from other cultures or other spaces or other places that like are still currently unexplored, how they might come to life, you know, with AI coming into the mix in production that a lot of people are very unsettled about. Like, you know, how do you see, like, I think now more than ever actually we do need this soulfulness, right? But at the same time, how do you see this, both the prevalence of like, not the prevalence, but like, you know, film and media coming out from these other regions, like, you know, Africa, you know, like, you know, all these other places. We already have like beautiful movies that people are already acknowledging from the Asian spaces, and like other producers and creators like, you know, Parasite, like, you know, Everything Everywhere All at Once, like, you know, some of those other core beautiful movies. But, you know, I think it's really amazing to continue to see this trend, continue to see this trend, not only in those other movies that you guys go and search for, but in movies that are to come. What do you think?
Movies that are to come, I mean, we'll still expect this soulful trend for sure. I feel like it's something I would not get tired of. I feel like it's a key element that has to be in certain movies that revolve around certain themes. So I feel like hopefully in the future, like other movies that are coming up, they're able to still like have like this element in it, and then it's still able to like, you know, grab people's attention, makes people more interested in the show, you know. What do
you think, like, so do you think people are, we've entered an era where, you know, audiences care more about emotional storytelling than shared universes?
What do you mean?
Like, do you believe that, you know, we as an audience, like, are just, you know, care, and I'll get to the point where I guess to care more about the emotional storytelling aspect of it, or the, you know, like how real it actually feels. That soulful feeling that we're still talking about, compared to just, you know, if the universe can fit in 10 different versions of Iron Man or 10 different versions of people from different universes. Like, you know, that whole, like, because, you know, it became a thing where, like, that universe thing became a whole trend where, you know, people were looking out for, you know, oh, is this thing, you know, how layered is it, you know, is it, you know, canon, is it based on a universe, is it based on, you know, these different elements that come together? But do you think now it's just all about emotional storytelling?
I don't think it's just about emotional storytelling as well. I feel like that expectation as well of different characters coming into different universes as well, like, it's still expected. Because even now, I was just thinking, like, when it comes to, you know how now Marvel is into that whole multiverse, like, theory and everything, people can jump into. So imagine if, like, this thing with James Gunn and everything, one day Marvel just drops a movie, you see Superman just flying to the Marvel universe from a different...
And it's funny because those are the things that we've been dreaming about.
Yes.
And, like, it's actually very exciting.
It will
to
be
see
so
how
exciting
that,
if
like,
that happens.
Like that Marvel strategy. I wonder. That would be a very interesting collab.
Honestly speaking.
So
what do you think though?
I do like, bro, like, sign me up immediately. I see Superman entering in the Marvel movie. I think it's very interesting to now see like how, you know, because like you said, we're entering a different generation, right? Yeah. We're entering a different phase of things. So how these things play out with the path or the trajectory that they are currently on, and seeing how they all, like, you know, sort of like come together in one, like, you know, down the line will be very exciting, you know, seeing how the possibilities are actually still endless. And I am happy to be alive.
Right? And you're shooting Brand New Day. Think about that. Imagine if Superman pops up in Brand New Day.
No, you know, that's too soon. That's too soon.
You never know. The movie is too soon. You never know. They're still filming. They've never
Brand New Day.
Think about the name, Brand New Day. It's a brand new day.
I get where you're going with this, but okay, all right.
If I'm right, please, you guys should come back and watch this.
all right. That would be so that you'd be like a city, bro. Like that would be
crazy
so
if
funny.
it happens.
All right, so what do you think? Last I'd like to ask you is what do you think happens when film becomes, less about franchises and more about feelings? Let's just bring it back.
Less franchise, more about feelings and
just more about
it brings the most out of it. It brings it will definitely shock the audience for sure. Because I feel like we're at a phase in the world where everybody's healing. I don't know if that's just social media wise, or if it's generally around the world. But I feel like there is an energy around where everyone is sort of a lot of things are coming back because we are all getting older as well. Do you get what I mean? People are Gen Z's now are 25, 27, 26.
Yep.
So it's they're sort of bringing up all these things back from our childhood, sort of heal that inner child in everybody. And I think that's honestly amazing. That's insane. So when you think about it now, all these franchises, when they leave that aspect of business in a way, the business is obviously going to be there. That structure is there. Can't get rid of it. So when they leave that aside and they actually really think forward thinking, futuristic thinking, how is it actually genuinely going to move forward and last? How are we going to keep up with that legacy? It's not just about Marvel, it's just about DC. We're actually entertaining people. What's the one thing they have in common? They're entertaining people. Do you get what I mean? So
I know, I definitely agree, and I think like you said, right, the world is healing.
Yeah.
And I think this is already being evident in a lot of albums that are being dropped, in a lot of games, in a lot of movies. So I think continue to track these elements, track these things, this emotional storytelling is actually, I think, a very, very beautiful arc that we're going into now. So, we'll continue to bring you some of those movies, we'll continue to, talk about them. And I'm looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to how things, go into this next, this next generation, next level, next phase. Just some final things, how do you think, in terms of the superhero genre, finally shredding down the pressure of the next end game or the next big events, right? Looking at Fantastic Four or looking at Superman, what would you say are just the core things, just in a very, very simple ways, the core things you enjoyed from both Fantastic Four and Superman?
I like the concept they're using Fantastic Four of her being pregnant. Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was very interesting, right?
I absolutely love it. It was so adorable because and then even her actually being pregnant in real life as well, coming out, and the timing was so perfect because when they were filming the movie, she most likely wasn't. So I don't know if it was something that she had in mind, or if it was just the universe really aligning things very well for her.
Yep.
Because that scene in the movie, they had motherly instincts. Even when she told when they were on the ship and everything, and she realized that okay, we can't do anything. They want to kill my child. She told him, kill her, kill Silver Surfer. Don't even think she needs to die now. Because I need to protect my child. That really got me emotional. That was my favorite.
I don't think that was Silver Surfer, but yes.
Silver,
yes.
It wasn't Silver Surfer. People have been saying that's Silver Surfer. Yeah, I don't know. She's Silver and she surfs, so maybe it's not.
Hey, the shoe fits weird. Nice. Okay.
But yeah, that was it for me for Fantastic Four and Superman. Everything,
right?
No, I think actually that it was James Gunn that directed it.
Yeah.
That was it.
I think I agree with you as well. Fantastic Four as well for me it still felt good. It still felt retro. I think it felt it felt like a branded movie. it felt good. And for me as well, Superman was the cast, Nicholas Hiltz. I'm gonna say it 3 times because I think he did such a good job at Lex. And just even in Superman as well, I can imagine the pressure that he felt. So I think he also did a great job as well. So I think the last thing I'll leave you with is that James Gunn had this quote saying the opportunity to tell a unified story across movies, TV, and animation was the biggest story ever told across multiple projects for him. And I think how he took this project was very, 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 very intentional, very beautiful.
Yeah,
and seeing how he went about it was very interesting. So in this, and maybe I think that's what's beautiful, the beautiful takeaway from all of this is.
Yeah, it is.
There are different reasons why people make movies. Some do it for spectacle, some do it for story, some chase formulas, but others follow their guts. And I think at the end, that is there's a film out there for everyone. And maybe, just maybe, we are entering an age where people aren't, just watching anything anymore, but, they are seeking the works that speak to them. That's why, we try. I think filter systems and deep dives like this, this matter, because as we grow, we start to know the directors, the writers, and the artists that reflect our souls. So it's very important.
And in a world filled with noise, stories like these help us remember how to listen.
Definitely, James Gunn didn't just reboot Superman. I think he reminded us why these stories matter in the first place. In a world, drowning in spectacle, he offered us something rare: sincerity. Whether Marvel takes the hints with F4 is yet to be seen, but if Superman is the new blueprint, maybe there's hope for the hero genre after all.
All right, here's Ain't No Mountain High to close us out on Behind the Frame. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ain't no river wide enough, baby.